With just under 40 days until kickoff for the NFL, I think the Atlanta Falcons still have some team building up to do before they want to be considered as a contender in the NFC South. Last season, the Falcons signed quarterback Kirk Cousins to a 4-year deal, 100 mil guarantee from the Minnesota Vikings. Kirk Cousins, in his first year in Atlanta, was a year to forget, and hopefully will get a chance at redemption. Prior to weeks 10 through 13, the Falcons were at 6-3 through 9 games of the season, with 3 of those wins coming against playoff teams, beating Tampa twice and Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles. The thing is with beating Tampa twice is that it gave Atlanta the tiebreaker if Atlanta and Tampa were to end up with the same record. But we all know that never happened. To summarize, Kirk Cousins' first year in Atlanta was frustrating and didn't live up to the level of play that many had expected. Wide receiver Drake London still had himself a good year as he finished the year with 100 catches and over 1,200 receiving yards with 9 touchdowns. Wide receiver Darnell Mooney also had himself a good year as well as he finished the year with just under 1,000 receiving yards and 5 receiving touchdowns. Tight end Kyle Pitts finished the year with over 600 receiving yards. And don't get me wrong, if your team's pass catching tight end or wide receiver finishes the year with over 600 receiving yards, that's good. That's great. Teams will take that. But when it comes with Kyle Pitts, I just think with the level of talent that he brings, I just think there's a lot more. That's just my opinion. Moving on to the offense as a whole, overall, led by offensive coordinator Zach Robinson, who is now going on his second year with the team. The team scored just under 23 points a game, passing yards 239, which was top 10, rushing yards a buck 30, which was also top 10, and scoring just over 2 touchdowns a game. Despite that production made by your offense, you still missed the playoffs. And I think as a fan of this team, if I was a fan of the Falcons, that's what really would make me frustrated about this team is that you were in top 10 in passing yards and rushing yards, and we still missed the playoffs. Moving on to the defense, the lack of pass rush was the Achilles of the Atlanta Falcons defense. The team traded next year's 2026 first round pick, 2025 second round pick, and 2025 seventh round pick in return to move up at 26 and pick Tennessee's edge rusher James Pierce Jr. We'll talk and move with the rookie draft class for the Falcons later on in the video. But as for the defense, the sack percentage was only at just over 5%, second to worst in the league. The run stop wasn't that much better either, as the defense average gave up about a buck 20 a game. The front seven, respectfully for Atlanta, isn't going to be something that exciting or something that I don't think a lot of fans are going to be looking forward this upcoming season of the NFL. Moving on to the secondary, the team last season gave up an average of 224 passing yards a game. That was 24th in the league last year. The secondary led by 8-year vet Jesse Bates. I don't think the secondary and the corners are as bad as the stats show. It's just because of the lack of pass rush. It tends to allow opposing quarterbacks to hold the ball longer and be able to eventually make a play or find a guy that was open that was once covered by a corner or safety, but because of lack of pass rush and no one can eventually get home and get to the quarterback, corners and receivers can't always stick like glue to these opposing receivers. Eventually, they're going to get open. If one of two rookies that they've drafted hits, that would be a huge help for the secondary, as the secondary only finished with 12 interceptions this past season. If either Jalen Walker or James Pierce Jr. becomes a really good, talented player in their career, then that will be a huge help for the secondary. And I think players like AJ Terrell will be able to play a more aggressive style defense, and the stats will be able to back them up and show up. The Falcons only have 5 picks in this past April's draft class, and they spent it mostly on the defense, understandably so, especially with how the defense performed and with the lack of pass rush that they had last season. So in the first round, they traded with the Rams. They traded their next year's 2026 first round pick. They traded this year's 2025 second round pick to the Rams, so that way they can acquire their first round pick. So in the first round, the Atlanta Falcons selected Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr. Both happen to play the same position, but because of the lack of pass rush, I think both of them probably are going to be week one starters. In the later rounds, the Atlanta Falcons selected in the third round, they selected safety Xavier Watts, and the fourth round, they selected safety Billy Bowman. The thing is with selecting Billy Bowman with the fourth round, the thing is with that, you just question how much playing time is he going to really get. Unlike the first two picks that Atlanta Falcons selected with Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr. with the lack of pass rush and the lack of sack percentage, I believe both of them are going to be week one starters. Unlike with Billy Bowman, if you're Atlanta, if you already have Jesse Bates and you selected in the third round a safety, and then you're gonna in the next round you're gonna select another safety again, you just really question how much playing time is he really gonna get. And if you're Atlanta, you just or if you're a Falcons fan, knowing that, maybe you would have considered looking at other positions. Other as for this team's ceiling, though, I don't see this team making into the playoffs this season. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I still see this team still doing some team building as they're going to be moving on from quarterback Kirk Cousins to Michael Penix full time this upcoming season, and we're going to get a more full overview of what we can expect out of Michael Penix and see him grow as a quarterback. And see hopefully one, if not two, of the both edge rushers hit Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr. But with the Falcons, the highest ceiling I have them going, I have them maybe going best. I think 6-11. Uh, yeah, 6-11. So missing the playoffs. But I think if Michael Penix is not bad, just average, shows some flashes, shows consistency, I think the Falcons have something with Michael Penix.